Welcome to the deep dive. If you need a comprehensive, almost surgical understanding of 80 compliance testing for websites, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're doing a deep dive today into digital accessibility and our mission to really cut through the noise. Because here's a surprising fact right from the start that it might just ruin your week. If you are relying only on a single automated scanning tool, you are probably only catching about 30% of your actual accessibility problems.
Yeah, that 30% figure it's kind of the truth bomb we need to start with, isn't it? What our sources really confirm is that effective compliance, it's absolutely not just a simple checkbox exercise. Nope.
Okay.
It requires a blended approach, a multi-method approach. You need automated scans, sure, but also manual testing and user validation too.
Yeah.
And all of that is aimed at hitting the benchmark,
Okay, the benchmark.
which is WCAG 2.1 level ALA.
Right. WCAG 2.1 AA. Let's just pause there for a second. Why that specific standard? What makes it so crucial?
It matters because, well, it's the standard you see cited most often in legal cases, and it's widely accepted as the baseline for the industry. You know, think of it as the strong middle ground. It's achievable, not the absolute bare minimum, but practical. We're talking about the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, and they give us a really neat framework based on 4 core principles.
Okay, good. Let's unpack those 4 pillars because that should tell us exactly what we actually need to test for.
Exactly. The pillars are POUR, easy to remember. First up is perceivable. This is all about ensuring users can actually process the information presented. Think text alternatives for images or making sure content is distinguishable. Enough contrast, that sort of thing.
Okay, perceivable. Makes sense.
Second, operable. This focuses on interaction. Can users actually use the interface? Critically, making sure everything works with a keyboard.
Right. Keyboard access. Crucial.
Third is understandable. This covers things like readable text content and ensuring the website functions in predictable ways. No confusing surprises.
And the last one, robust. That one always seems a bit mysterious, only 3 criteria. Why is it so small but still considered a pillar?
Robust. It's fascinating because even though it's small, it's sort of the foundation everything else rests on. It ensures the code structure itself is solid,
Yeah.
valid code. It requires compatibility with assistive technologies. So even if browsers update or a user gets a new screen reader next year, the site should still hold up.
So it's about future-proofing almost.
Exactly. Future-proofing accessibility.
Okay, so back to that 30% figure. That leaves this huge 70% gap that automation just misses. Which means we have to roll up our sleeves, right? Do manual testing. And let's be honest, that takes time. When we look at that manual 70%, what are the absolute, 2 most critical procedures people need to do?
Right, the non-negotiables.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 mandatory manual procedures really simulate how users who can't use a mouse interact with your site. First, you absolutely must perform keyboard navigation testing. Simple, really. Disconnect your mouse. Or just don't touch it. Use only the tab key to move forward, shift plus tab to move back, enter or space bar to activate things, arrow keys maybe for widgets. The critical checks. Verifying that the visual focus indicator, that outline or highlight, is clearly visible at all times, and crucially, avoiding what we call keyboard traps.
Keyboard traps, what's the danger there? Sounds bad.
It is bad. The worst case is a user tabs into something, maybe a pop-up window or a complex widget, and then you can't tab out. They're just stuck tabbing around inside that one element forever. They literally have to reload the entire page to escape.
Ooh, yeah, that's a massive failure. Total blocker.
It violates the operable principle completely.
Okay, so keyboard navigation is one half. What about the auditory experience? How do we check what someone actually hears?
That's the second critical piece, screen reader testing. You need to use the actual tools, like NVDA, that's a great free screen reader for Windows, non-visual desktop access, or VoiceOver, which is built into Macs. And the method, you listen. You check key structural things. Does the heading hierarchy make sense? Are there landmark regions defined, like nav or main? And most importantly, you need to listen through the entire page content to make sure the reading order is logical and follows the visual flow.
Right, making sure it reads out sensibly. Now, when we talked about understandable, you mentioned cognitive accessibility. That sounds, difficult to test, very subjective maybe. How does WCAG actually measure success for something like, say, memory impairment?
Yeah, that's a great question because it can seem subjective.
Yeah.
But we measure it by focusing on reducing cognitive load. This means things like having incredibly clear navigation paths, consistent layouts across the whole site so users don't have to relearn on every page, and building in helpful functionality, like for a shopping cart or a long form allowing a user to save and return later. If they need a break, they don't lose everything.
Ah, okay. So consistency and minimizing mental effort.
Exactly. That consistency is absolutely key for lowering cognitive load.
This really drives home that accessibility isn't just, a feature you tack on at the end. It's a constant effort.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Compliance, real accessibility, it's an ongoing process. It is definitely not a one-time audit you pass and forget. Best practices really confirm that accessibility has to be baked into the development workflow itself. Like your team's definition of done for any new feature update must include specific accessibility checks. Otherwise, you're just always going to be chasing that 70% gap, constantly fixing things after the fact.
So, okay, we know comprehensive manual testing is essential. It takes time. You mentioned screen reader testing alone can take hours for complex pages. The final thought for you, our listener, is this. Given that reality, how do we fundamentally reset the industry expectation? How do we shift from accessibility being seen as a nice-to-have feature to a baseline requirement, especially when doing it right means teams might need to slow down their feature deployment just a bit to truly validate their work for everyone? Something to think about.